Welcome to the show, and today we've got a special guest, Jason Hewitt, coming all the way from Sports Illustrated. Thanks for joining us today, Jason.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Yes, my name is Jason Hewitt. I am a reporter for the Carolina Panthers on Sports Illustrated. And yeah, I'm happy to talk training camp, quarterback battles, all that good stuff. Let's get it, y'all.
There's a lot to talk about with the Panthers for sure.
Ooh, man, tell me about it.
The whole new ball game this year with Matt Rule, Teddy Bridgewater. So let's go ahead and start it off with training camp. Now, is there any training camp battles you're really excited to kind of take a look at this offseason or this season?
What I really want to look at is the interior offensive line right now, because I know Greg Little, he could play tackle, but he could also switch to guard if he really wanted to. We also got Dennis Daly, who's battling for a spot with Michael Schofield, who recently got signed. And so, I don't know. I feel like there's really a lot to work with and a lot of moving around they can do. And we also have there's John Miller as well from the Bengals.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you think John Miller or Dennis Daly will end up becoming that right guard?
Ooh, if I had to bet money on it, I would pick John Miller. But we have to see how training camp goes, see how development is with everybody.
Yeah, we talked about offensive line last week, and one of the things we noticed when we were talking about it was that we have, Okung obviously is penciled in, pinned in, markered in, whatever you want to say, at left tackle. And then kind of Paradis, I guess, at center. But then all the other positions are pretty flexible. Like, Matt Rule is a guy that likes position flexibility. So I guess that's a good thing or a bad thing. You could say that some of these guys are a jack of all trades, master of none, not the best at, right tackle or whatever. But
well, I was going to say, you forgot the best offensive lineman. Taylor Moton is the best offensive liner.
Yeah, but even he switched around. Even he switched around some last season. So do you think that offensive line is – on the offense, I guess, definitely the weakest point of the team. But overall, is it one of the weakest points of the team? Or do you think that these guys could come together?
As of right now, they are the weakest part of the team, as it has been for the past several years now.
Yeah.
But could they get together? I mean, they could. I mean, there's chemistry there. I know Paradis, Okung, and Michael Schofield, they all played together at one point. So I know there's that chemistry factor there. And I played offensive line in college. Like, I actually just graduated, so I'm pretty fresh and everything. And, like, chemistry is, like, a really big factor when it comes to, like, double teams, watching film together, everything, like, as a whole. So if there's still that chemistry there, then I feel like they can make something happen.
What college did you play for?
I played for Oberlin College. It's out in the suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay. What position did you play?
So my first 3 years, I played center. I was a center in high school and everything.
Okay.
And eventually they decided to try me out at tackle because I lost a whole lot of weight. And so they switched me out at right tackle. Man, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Putting folks in the dirt. Yes, sir.
So you enjoy tackle more than center?
Oh, well, I like the responsibility of center. I like being that quarterback of the offensive line, quote unquote. And, I like telling folks what to do and everything. But at tackle, it's more of like the one-on-one battles with that defensive end. Center usually have help from the guards with double teams and everything.
And you're calling out protections and doing all that stuff as center too, right? So
absolutely,
maybe a little less IQ thinking along with the tackle, but more responsibility in terms of making sure that your guy doesn't get to the quarterback, right?
Absolutely.
Not that playing tackle, not that you're, playing tackle is not a smart position, but
I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, less responsibility of the overall line, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But also glaring whenever you have a mistake.
Oh yeah. Ooh, get beat that film study that next day. It is rough.
So as a center, I mean, how do you think Paradis did last year? A prevailing thought is he wasn't that good.
it, man. Like, I don't know. Like, I watched his film and everything. He looked great in Denver. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this guy could really help this team out a whole lot. And he came in and he had the worst PFF grade that he's ever had in his career. So, what gives? I don't know what happened with him, but like I said, with the whole chemistry thing, maybe he'll shake back and, perform better than he did last year, hopefully.
In terms of this sort of leads into training camp, but
Right.
we were thinking about some off-season moves that the Panthers made, and one of the big moves that they made, of course, was trading Trey Turner and bringing in Okung. How did you feel about that move at the time? Did you think that we gave up a little too much for Trey Turner? Could we have gotten a little more? Should we have kept him? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, initially, I was a little concerned because, Trey Turner is arguably in his prime right now, and Okung, he just came off his whole health scare last year, and he was out for the majority of the season. So, it's a huge gamble, but, maybe there's some faith in those guys in the interior with Miller and Schofield and Daly and them, and, maybe one of them can break out. But at the time when it initially happened, I was a little concerned because, like, they needed a left tackle, obviously. I mean, that was the most glaring spot. But, that was your best lineman that you traded, So
And sort of
And Okung's sorry.
Go ahead, Jerry.
I was gonna say Okung's only on a 1-year deal too.
So this is his prove-it year, quote unquote, but he's really just finishing out his contract.
It was a little strange that they made that move to us. We were looking at it like, okay, up till then and even since then, Rule has been about getting younger, right? Getting versatile. And then Trey Turner is still pretty young and very talented. I guess they just didn't want to pay him. It sounded like he's wanted some money. Yeah, you're nodding your head. Yes.
It's business.
Yeah. Are the Panthers trying to set the record for dead money in a season? It seems like they're well on their way.
Every time I look on Spot Track, man,
I know
my heart just shatters, man.
Well, added some more to it with cutting Gano. I think added $1.5 million.
Oh, exactly. Added an extra 1.5.
Yeah, man.
But I'm not 100. Isn't it that it falls off after this year, or do we continue to keep the dead cap? Do you know that?
I believe it falls off a little bit. Don't quote me on that.
No.
But I think it should decrease a little bit. I don't know if it all just, magically disappears or anything like that, because that's not how money works. But
my understanding is that it depends on the contract. Like Gano, I think, is spread out over 2 years. But some of these guys are like the guys that were on the last years of their deals that we let go. I think that's going to fall off after this year. So hopefully next year, we'll have a lot of cap space. But, of course, the cap is going to be a lot lower next year because of COVID and all that stuff.
So going back to off-season moves, what are your thoughts about Teddy Bridgewater coming to this offense? Obviously replacing the best quarterback in Panthers history, Cam Newton.
Right.
Big shoes to fill. What are your thoughts on him coming into this offense?
Well, he's been all in since he's joined the team. Like, actually just posted an article about Matt Rule's thoughts on Bridgewater and how, like, impressed he was with him. And he even said that, he's all football and he's fully engaged with everybody and everything. And, he's learning the playbook. And him and Joe Brady, they have a history. They played, well, I believe he played with him. Well, not with him. Like, he played under him. He was like the passing game coordinator, Brady was. And so they have experience there. And so he basically knows that offense already, but he's polishing up everything. And I think he'll be all right. I don't think he'll be like a dominator, like off rip, but I feel like he'll do a decent enough job to manage a few wins.
Do you think he's the QB of the future here, or is that to be drafted next year or the year after?
Hey, he signed for 3 years.
Yeah.
Signed for 3 years, $63 million. So that's a lot of bread. So I feel like they trust him.
Yeah.
That was
And I feel
that
like
was an. Go ahead, Jerry.
we keep tripping over each other.
I know Zoom, right? I mean, yeah.
we keep.
Um,
Well, they brought in a lot of weapons for him too, or brought in Robbie Anderson. Then they have Curtis Samuel. So hopefully he can just do some nice little drop offs and let them play afterwards.
You're playing Drew Brees ball, basically.
Yeah.
You drop it off and let the players make plays.
Yeah, talking about the weapons that we brought in, outside of the big three of receivers, Moore, Samuel, and Robbie Anderson, any of the guys that are sort of in that 4 to 9 spot right now, in training camp, anybody that you're hoping steps out or expect to step out and show some special things?
I'm looking at Farrell Cooper like he could potentially do something crazy. He has a lot of competition there, but I feel like he's a sleeper to make some pretty good plays.
Yeah. He's the guy that was a Pro Bowl returner, right?
Yeah.
So, yes.
Have you looked into Omar Bayless? And the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because we got destroyed on YouTube for not bringing him up during our receiver group, like in love with him. So have you done any research on him or your thoughts on him?
I know a little bit about him. I don't see him breaking out by any means, but I feel like he could contribute as well, kind of on the same level as Farrell Cooper.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much my thoughts. He's not like a bad player by any means, but I don't see him like being this huge impact player like DJ Moore or Robbie Anderson.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I had a ton of stats in college, but he's not very fast and doesn't really bring anything different to the team, that we need, right? He's not big. He's not fast. I don't really know why people are excited about him, to be honest.
He played at Arkansas State.
I feel like
yeah.
Like, and so he's in a conference where, it wasn't really that deep competitively.
Right.
So he's a nice little, space filler and everything. There's depth. That's nice, right?
Good practice squad guy.
Yeah.
Hope that's what he's hoping for. Well, we're not going to have any preseason games, obviously, and the even practices where you can hit is just taking a machete to, right? There's 14 or 18 or something like that, just not a lot.
Right.
How do you think that? How bad is that? I guess for the Panthers, considering you've got the new coaching staff, a lot of new pieces to plug in, or is there some positives to it?
I think this pandemic is probably the worst thing to happen to this team in particular, because you have all these new guys learning this entirely new system, where you have teams like, the Chiefs and the Saints, where they already have their guys in place, they have their coaches in place. And so they already have like a pretty decent idea as to, what to do come game day. Whereas the Panthers, you have all these new pieces and a lot of rookies that they're just kind of they're like chickens with their heads cut off, So we'll see what happens. I'll remain optimistic on them, but this NFC South is looking really, really rough right now. So, we'll see.
Do you know are the rookies, I assume they got all their documentation and everything pretty soon after they either were drafted or signed or however that works. But, have you heard anything about them having, I guess I'm sure they're doing Zoom meetings and stuff like that, but any idea of the progress being made in terms of them learning the playbook and stuff like that? Have you had any talks with any of the players or coaching staff or anything like that to kind of have an idea of how that's coming along?
Well, Matt Rule stated that they're having their Zoom meetings and everything, and like prior to training camp and everything, they really just kind of communicated remotely, sending them their playbooks and getting guys like into the system. Like Phil Snow has his playbook ready. Joe Brady has his playbook ready as well. And so really it's just a matter of, getting in shape and understanding, how the new schemes are going to work out.
Yeah. And talking about schemes, Do you know if, or have you heard any more about Phil Snow's defensive scheme? Because we tried the 3-4 last year and it looked awful. So I'm assuming we're going to go back
Yeah,
to the 4-3.
they're actually what they're going to do is there's going to be multiple fronts, and it's going to be like quote unquote positionless defense. And so I think one of the main reasons why they drafted Jeremy Chin in the second round is because I see him kind of functioning like maybe a Minka Fitzpatrick. Just kind of throw him anywhere, maybe throw him up and Mike some plays, throw him back and play safety some other plays. And so they might run a 3-4. They could run a 4-3. They're going to do a lot of experimenting this year. Maybe even a 3-3 stack.
Yeah. We were thinking like a big nickel with like Chin kind of dropping down as that nickel.
Mhm.
And so
Whatever gets Chin on the field is what they
Yes.
should do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I call him Isaiah Simmons light, but hopefully he proves us all wrong.
Yeah, maybe one day he'll be Jeremy Chin light. That's what we hope for, right?
Exactly.
I mean, his measurables are almost identical to Simmons.
They really are. Like this was a steal in my opinion.
Yeah. Are there any other rookies that you could see that could kind of break out? Obviously, Derek Brown being so
Yeah.
early drafted.
But
Anybody else?
I see Gross Matos doing something. I see him like giving Weatherly a pretty good competition during training camp. I can see him getting some PT pretty early. Who else? Other than Brown, Chin, and Gross Matos, I don't really see anybody else, making that big of a splash this season.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess we're hoping that like Tony Pride steps up, given our weakness at corner.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think about Eli Apple signing? I mean, he looked okay for like half a season with the Saints, and then last year wasn't that great. But you think he's got a shot to do something here?
I think it'll be more of the same. I'm not sold on him at all.
Yeah.
Well, once again, I hope he proves us wrong, but as of right now, he hasn't really shown us anything that would tell us otherwise.
Great athlete, just doesn't put it all together.
Yeah, I feel like he's a slightly worse version of Dante Jackson.
Oh no, that's not what we want to hear.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Dante. I mean, is he? Could he put it together this year? Under a new regime.
I'm more optimistic on Jackson than Apple for sure. I feel like he's gotten one step closer to being the guy in that secondary, but there were some plays he was looking pretty questionable there. And he's so fast though, man. Like
that's
you
sort of
can't
the problem,
coach
right?
Speed, man. Yeah, like he does too much with it. He doesn't know how to control it yet.
Well,
so once he gets that, go ahead.
I was gonna say, hopefully he had a lot of issues with Perry Fuel that came out later on. I'm hoping that was part of the issue, was him and that Perry Fuel butted heads too much. And
it's actually crazy because I hope so too. Actually, Jalen Ramsey, I remember he tweeted out, "Good luck, y'all," basically with Perry Fuel, because he was giving that secondary a hard time as well. So, hopefully Phil Snow come in and change that whole dynamic out there.
Yeah. Do you know a lot about Phil Snow? I mean, obviously a long-time college coach, but we don't, I mean, personally, I don't think, Jerry, we don't really know a ton about the guy in terms of, is this Matt Rule's guy for the long term, or is this just sort of Matt Rule bringing in guys he knows and then getting acclimated to the NFL, and then maybe he brings in somebody else in a couple of years?
I feel like this is going to be his guy for a long time because most of the players that have played under him who have spoken out about him have called him a genius, basically a football savant. They love this guy. And
wow.
Yeah, and Matt Rule been dependent on him when he was at Baylor with the Big 12 and everything. So I think he'll be fine.
Because he's an older guy, and I would, if he's that highly thought of, I'm surprised that he hasn't gotten a chance in the NFL before this.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of money in college football as well. And so,
True.
I mean,
True.
he was probably comfortable. And when Matt Rule left, that comfort might have left a little bit. So he just came with him, basically.
That's a good way to think about it. He just didn't want to leave college.
Yeah, that's how I see it. So
Yeah.
hopefully he'll do his thing and come up with these schemes and do what he has to do this and win this season.
And we're talking about coaches. What are your thoughts on Joe Brady coming here? Because Steven and I were over the moon when we found out, but he doesn't have that huge resume, but what he did with LSU. Whew.
Changed Joe Burrow's life.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's going to be more of the same when he comes over. I think with the players that he brought in, and it's going to be some exciting games this season, man. I'm so excited to see it. I'm trying to think. What he does with McCaffrey, man.
Yeah. McCaffrey, you have even a better
goosebumps.
season than last season. I mean, could we look at last season and be like, McCaffrey, that was his down season this year, with Joe Brady just going to go. I mean, are we looking like a 1,200 yard season? I mean, what's the ceiling for McCaffrey here?
I think it'll be more of the same, but I think the weapons around him will be even more impactful.
Can't load the box because Kyle Allen can't throw deep accurately.
Well, I mean, they don't even need to load the box with that O-line either, though. So
yeah, that's true.
True. Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about that when we were talking about our O-line, discussion last week, and we were hoping that maybe Brady can scheme a way around this O-line, and I assume we're going to be looking at Saints style offense with quick throws and not letting plays just take forever to develop like we saw under Rivera and Shula and Norv Turner to a degree. Is that kind of what you're thinking as well? Is it's going to mirror the Saints offense as much as our personnel will allow?
I think so. I think it's going to be a lot of dinking and dunking, as I like to call it. Just drop it off to McCaffrey, drop it off to DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel, and occasionally go over the top of Robbie Anderson because that's what he does. I think that's why they brought him in, just to be that big play factor.
Yeah, we love Robbie Anderson. I mean, last year I was calling for we need to go out and get a guy who's 6'3" and fast. And that's Robbie Anderson, right? So that's one of the big elements that we lacked last year, from the offense, was that big receiver that could go up and get the ball. So, not taking anything away from DJ Moore, he can go up and get the ball, as good as anybody. But I think having that extra dynamic is really going to be helpful to the offense.
And I feel like he's going to open up Curtis Samuel as well because he's still waiting to break out.
I hope
and
so.
So having that extra weapon out there, I think it'll really help him out as well.
And with Greg Olsen going away, what are your thoughts on Ian Thomas? Should we go ahead and look for someone else to replace him or give him the chance, or what's your thoughts?
I look at the salary cap situation that they have right now, and I really don't see Carolina getting anybody who would be that much greater than Ian Thomas right now. So why not give the man a chance,
I have this.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I have the answer. All right.
We have this argument constantly. So
talk to me.
Jerry's an Ian Thomas guy. I think that Ian Thomas is done. We don't need to worry about Ian Thomas anymore. So I think that we trade, a third round pick, second round, third round pick, whatever, for O.J. Howard, the Bucks, right? They got Gronk down there. They don't. O.J. Howard may be sort of expendable at this point. You bring him in, he's a first-round talent. I mean, is that crazy? I really think he's a young guy. He sort of fits the mold of, he wouldn't hurt the salary cap because he's a rookie. So, I mean, am I nuts to want to do that? Is that too much to give up? What do you think?
I feel like this team is currently rebuilding, so I don't know if giving up draft picks is really the best idea.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I think I would just give Ian a chance this season and see what he does. And if he doesn't perform like he should, then maybe go out and look for somebody else.
I think OJ Howard's a free agent after this season too. So if you
crazy.
desperate for him,
Mhm.
I just think he's been so underutilized there. Like he's such a physical talent.
Mhm.
You know, it just seems like you put him in the right situation and he could really explode. Yeah, we'll see. But I mean, that's the thing, right? Is this season the Panthers are just. I mean, are we hoping for 4-12 season for a high draft pick? I mean, is that what we should expect? I know Vegas has us around 5 wins as our odds. So I mean, is that really what we should expect?
Yes.
Yeah.
4-12, 5-11.
Yeah.
That's the
That's a
mark.
bummer. That's a tough season.
It is. I understand, but sometimes teams need to be built.
Yeah.
need to
Look
go
at the
into the
Chiefs.
season.
Mm-hmm. And no one was looking at the Chiefs like they do now, but I mean, they have Money Mahomes out there, and no one expected him to blow up the way he has. So
True. I mean,
Yes.
so given that's sort of what we should expect, and maybe that's what they were going for. I mean, does it really make sense to bring in Bridgewater at $20 million a year and bring in Robbie Anderson at what is he, $10 million a year? I mean, did it really make sense to make those moves, or should we have just kept Kyle Allen and hope for a good draft pick?
there's no way they could have started Kyle Allen this year, though. There's no way. They had to bring in somebody like this is. They didn't bring in like this high-profile quarterback, though.
Right.
I mean, Bridgewater, he did what he had to do. He was 5-0 when he started for the Saints last year, but he still could prove something this year,
Mm-hmm.
and I just don't.
So a good gamble maybe to bring in Bridgewater just in case he actually regains that form, early in Minnesota.
I think he'll come back. I don't think he's going to be super dominant, a top 5, top 10 quarterback, anything like that. But I think he'll do what he has to do to get some wins here and there.
Speaking of quarterbacks, we brought in Will Grier last year, and now we just have PJ Walker. Do you think that, which one will probably pan out as the backup? Do you think Will Grier basically just is a wasted 3rd-round pick?
I don't think so. I think Will Grier is actually going to get the number 2 spot because PJ Walker, he came straight from the XFL and everything, and he looked great. He did what he had to do out there in Houston, but at the same time, I think Will Grier, he had to play behind that terrible offensive line. So I feel like if he has better protection and shows out in practice, then he could take that number 2 spot pretty easily.
That's surprising. I think a lot of people here are down on Will Grier. But you're right. Like he didn't. Did he have an opportunity last year to show anything? Not really, right?
He was kind of thrown into the fire.
Yeah.
And he looked lost when he was out there. That's what I think really drove a lot of people down. Is it was bad all around. He started with Perry Fuel as the head coach, and he just looked lost.
Yeah, there was no stability around him, and when you're a rookie, you need that stability. So he has a year under his belt. He's learned some lessons here and there, so I think he'll be fine.
Well, do you have anything else you want to talk about, Jason? Or
shoot, this y'all's party. I'm here. I'm down to talk about anything, really.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
So another thing that Jerry and I sort of are at a little bit of odds about, and you can be the tiebreaker here, is pumped in crowd noise for the broadcast, right? So the NBA is doing it, baseball's doing it, soccer's doing it. I'm just assuming the NFL is gonna do it. The question is, should they? Would you prefer it, or would you prefer just natural sounds of the game?
Me personally, I'd prefer the natural sounds of the game. But knowing how ball players are, they're going to do a lot of censoring. But
that's something I haven't thought about all the censoring that they would have to do.
Yeah, because shoot, especially with that old line and D line, those trenches, there's going to be a whole lot of beeps in there. So, I mean, I think they're going to do the crowd noise just because everyone else is doing it. Which, I mean, it is what it is. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but it's one of those things.
Have you watched any of the NBA games, like the ones from last night, or?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I mean, did it take you out of the game at all? The crowd
For
noise?
me, no. I just kind of focused more on the game, and the crowd noise. It was kind of like white noise to me.
And I think that's, to me, like I'm pro crowd noise, right? I'm pro pumping it in. I feel like it's sort of just normal, right? To when you're watching a game, just to hear that background din, right? It's not
Right.
Jerry equates it to a laugh track on a sitcom, right? Which I don't think that's. I'm just saying,
let me speak.
You can defend yourself in a second, but I don't think that that's right because, you know, with a TV show, you don't have to have a laugh track, right? A laugh track is mainly to tell the audience when they need to laugh, right? Like we don't need that in an NFL game to tell us when to cheer, but it's just part of the presentation, right? It's, you know, you never watch a game and don't have it. It would just be weird to me. So I don't know. Jerry, defend yourself.
Well, first of all, I do like what he said about the white noise because I can understand that. But I was watching the game last night and they someone made a bucket and all of a sudden you could tell they just cranked it up really loud. But then the actual players were really excited and started clapping. And it was like, then you hear one single clap, good job. And it was like, oh, that just feels so weird. And then another time they just turned it completely down and it was like, and it was just like, it just felt weird to me. That's just my opinion.
Interesting.
I prefer the sounds of the game. That would be my option.
I agree, but that's just what everyone else is doing. So I guess the NFL is just gonna fall into the peer pressure.
Well, you got to think about it. Like they pay, you know, Fox and CBS, ESPN, NBC. They pay so much money to show these games. Like they want to make it as comfortable for the average fan as they can because they need, you know, they need sports right now, right? They haven't been making this advertising money. It's kind of been just a waste of money for them right now. So anything that they can do to sort of make it as normal a presentation as possible sort of makes sense from their perspective.
Yeah.
You know,
it's one of those things. I'm personally I'm really, really into MMA, right? And with them, they don't have any of those tracks in the background. You can just hear the two fighters, you know, doing their thing. They're doing the same thing with boxing as well. So I don't know if they're just doing it with team sports or what, but I like the presentation more because you can hear everything that's going on. You can hear every shot. You can hear what the trainers are saying. I think it's pretty cool, seeing that inside look.
That is cool. Now, are they doing that for just the normal cable broadcasts or just the pay-per-view stuff?
All of it.
Okay. All of it. It would make sense with pay-per-view because you don't have to worry about swearing or anything like that. You know, but on ESPN, I assume maybe they put a warning or something before the show, saying, you know, there could be vulgar language or whatever. Rated TVMA. MMA.
They always have that 3-minute delay after the Panthers Super Bowl with Janet Jackson anyways to do editing. So
that was one of the proposals with the NBA was that they were going to put it on a 30-minute delay if they were going to have just regular sounds of the game. So they had time to edit out all that, you know, if the players are drawing back and forth at each other or whatever, to edit all that stuff out. That was one of the initial proposals. So, I mean, if it's between a 30-minute delay and some fake crowd noise, then give me the fake crowd noise, right?
Yeah.
The thing with that too is you got guys like me who's gonna try to report every single thing as it's happening. So it's gonna be spoiling the game for everybody.
Yeah, plus betting, live betting and stuff. I mean, how would you even do that?
That's a mess. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't even know why that was even a proposal, but apparently that went pretty far. So
are you actually going to be at the games then?
As of right now, no. But as the season goes by, hopefully they'll open up a little bit more.
And you were telling us off air that you're in Texas right now. Are you planning on moving out this way at some point during the season, or is that okay?
That's the plan.
Yeah,
that's the plan. Or somewhere fairly close.
Yeah.
Charlotte, so that way, get that access that I need.
Well, neither one of us live in Charlotte, so we understand.
Right outside of Charlotte is the best place to live.
Yeah.
Inside
somewhere
Charlotte
like
is
Concord.
Yeah.
Hey!
Jerry's right there.
I was like, my family's from North Carolina. I was born in Greensboro, so I know that area pretty
the
well.
area.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're a North Carolina native.
So quick story, I guess. So basically, I was born in North Carolina. All my family's in North Carolina, and I moved to Atlanta when I was 4. I spent most of my life there, and I moved to Texas when I was 14. And so like I've been moving around like my whole life darn near. And I went to college in Ohio. And so I go there, then back to Texas, and then sometimes I go to Carolina and Georgia. So it's always like those 4 places. I just go back and forth.
Do you still have family here in North Carolina?
Oh, yeah, most of my family's out there.
Okay. So did you grow up a Falcons fan?
Did I what?
Did you grow up a Falcons fan?
I'm a Panthers fan, baby.
Okay. Good.
Just making sure. Good. Otherwise, this call would have ended.
Yeah,
we would have to just this interview goes into the recycle bin.
No, I understand. I'm here for the 28-3 jokes.
Yep, there you go. So how did you end up getting the job with Sports Illustrated and working for the, I guess reporting on the Panthers?
So basically what happened was that I was writing for SB Nation prior to that. The Cash Scratch Reader, loved those guys over there.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened, the editor with Sports Illustrated, he reached out to me, basically just offered me the gig and said, you want to hop on board? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And that's pretty much what happened. It was a pretty straightforward process.
That's nice. So they came after you.
Yeah.
I knew your name looked familiar. Now I've probably read you 1,000 times on Cat Scratch Reader.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah,
that was me.
We got a celebrity here.
Yeah.
Oh, please. Get out of here, man.
Now this is one of my personal favorite questions. Since you kind of grew up in North Carolina, do you have a favorite childhood sports memory from North Carolina that you would like to share?
From North Carolina, no, because I was so young when I moved to Atlanta. Like I was 4, man. So most of my time, so like most of my stuff is really like preschool memories.
Well, what about Atlanta? Like your just childhood sports memory? What would that be?
That is a great question, man. I played against Deshaun Watson in high school. He lit us up, but I don't know if that's necessarily.
No, that's
awesome.
Yeah. What else? This is a very weird one, but y'all remember the Atlanta Thrashers?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hockey team.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. They played the Pittsburgh Penguins, and Sidney Crosby was in town and everything, and they went into a shootout, and the Thrashers won in like the very last round of the shootout, and everyone just went crazy in Phillips Arena. So I think that's probably my favorite.
That's awesome. We don't have professional hockey here. Of course we have the Carolina Hurricanes in Raleigh, but nobody really cares about them around here. But
hey, they got a Stanley Cup. They got.
I know, and it was it's the weirdest thing because nobody was talking about it in Charlotte. Like,
wow,
I know, like we couldn't get excited about it.
I was living in Florida, so I had no clue.
Yeah. I didn't even know they won until like several days later. I'm just not a hockey fan, but like normally if the local team is doing well, you hear about it, but not a word. It was odd. Who's your favorite Panther of all time?
Steve Smith.
Yeah,
Steve Smith by far. He's my favorite football player of all time. So yeah that was pretty easy.
Wrong there.
Yeah,
love
Peppers
of the game and
second.
nastiness.
Yeah, that's how I played the game. I was that trash talking on the field because of him, having that tenacity and ferociousness. I just loved all of it, and he was an undersized guy, and so all of it was just real inspirational to me.
He's a beast. He mentioned when we drafted DJ Moore that DJ Moore was his spirit animal, and he was really excited about that pick. I mean, how do you feel DJ Moore's coming along? Is he on the cusp of breaking out?
Actually, I wrote a piece about that, and the thing about Steve Smith's first few years, it looked very similar to DJ Moore's.
Yeah.
And his third or fourth year, I believe, that was when he broke out. So, I mean, DJ Moore's right there. He can follow in those footsteps this year.
I mean, he had a great season last year up
Yeah, he
until
had a good
that
year.
injury.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, sky's the limit for DJ Moore. I love that dude.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. I mean, we need it, right? We need us another superstar here. We need that guy that everybody can rally around. Especially now that
Christian
Luke.
McCaffrey right now.
Well, that's true. That's true. Dang, you made me look stupid. That's true. How do you feel about the linebacker core now that Luke's gone? I mean, my concern is Shaq Thompson was better because of Luke and got paid, not because of Luke, but, Luke took a lot of the pressure away from Shaq and was able to Shaq was able to be his best self with Luke on the field. Do you think Shaq is going to live up to that contract now with Luke gone? And how do you feel about Tahir Whitehead kind of stepping in and taking the mic and being that guy?
Well, no one can replace Luke Kuechly.
Yeah.
Let's just get that out right now. I think Whitehead will be okay. I don't think he'll blow anybody away this year. But I think Shaq Thompson, I think he'll step up a little bit. I don't think he's going to break out like many Panthers fans would hope. But I think he'll have a decent season, kind of more the same.
So not quite Thomas Davis level, just maybe slightly under that. Yeah.
Slightly under. I'll give him slightly under.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, that's kind of unfortunately what we were thinking too.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see, though. I mean, hey, people prove fans wrong every year.
Yeah.
So I have one more question.
Go for it.
Joey Sly.
What about him? What about him?
Great NFL kicker or the greatest NFL kicker?
The greatest. Let's go.
Thank you.
Next Adam Vinatieri, baby. Let's go.
Getting that jersey. He's my favorite.
Wow.
He's going to have to custom order. Ever since last training camp, Steven has been in love with Joey Sly. If he had a Twitter or some way we would reach out to him to interview him, that is his guy that he'll want to grab. Oh, did I just lose all internet?
Sly. Yeah, that's a cool name. Like, it's a cool guy name, right?
Yeah.
He's huge for a kicker, right?
Yeah.
He's a big guy for a kicker. Right. And then it just seemed like in training camp, like he just was doing well. He's making everything. Yeah. Graham Gano, it's sort of like the backup quarterback syndrome, right? Your favorite quarterback on the team is always the backup quarterback. So Graham Gano, getting a little tired of him, even though he did some great things for us.
He did.
Once he got hurt and it was Sly's spot to lose, I was very excited. But a lot of it also goes back to the previous year with Butker. Where, we drafted Butker, he looked great, and then they put him on the practice squad, and he got stolen by the Chiefs, I guess, and now it's, that's history. He's a very good kicker for them. So I sort of felt like we lost out on Butker, and when Sly came, I was like, all right, we have another chance here. Let's bring Sly in, and it's sort of worked out for him.
He's been doing well.
Yeah.
Let's hope he can get a little bit more accurate. Let's not blow him up too much.
Yeah.
Well, so he started out great, and then he had that middle of the season where he was, he was off, but then he finished great. So I'm hoping that this year he can kind of puts it all together and he's great for the whole season. And, maybe he's got a statue outside of Bank of America Stadium one day.
In 4 years, people will be like, why is that guy wearing a Sly jersey? Who's Sly?
Oh, Jerry, don't say that.
Man. Oh, man.
All right. Anything else, Jerry?
Nah, thank you so much. It was a blast.
Hey, no problem. It was a blast being on with y'all.
Tell people where they can find your work.
You can find us at SI_Panthers on Twitter, or you could just search us on Sports Illustrated and do it that way, si.com/Panthers. And yeah, we're the best Panthers media site in the world, period. That's what
awesome,
I got
man.
to say. So
you working on anything right now? A little tease.
Just covering training camp. Doing what I got to do. Oh, also, if y'all want, feel free to follow me on Twitter at Jason Hewitt 50. Yeah, that was my number in college. So
Okay. He's a great Twitter follow. Do it, people.
yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate it, and hopefully,
Hey, thank
sometime
y'all.
this season, maybe we bring you back in here if you want to, and have a talk about how the season's going.
Hey, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank y'all again.
Thank
All right,
you.
we appreciate it.
All right, for sure. Y'all take care.
You too.
All right.